Breaking news. Mitch Trubisky's caught up Matt Nagy. What's it mean, and what did he say? Comes up in just a second. This is Sports Talk Chicago with Jon Zaghloul. If you're new to the channel, thanks for being here. Subscribe, set up notifications, and hit that like button so you don't miss a thing. We talk Chicago sports daily, and we also have interviews with very special guests, Bears players, and also people from the sports media world. If you want to find more articles, podcasts, and videos, head over to sportstalkchicago.com. You can also find my social links there. That is sportstalkchicago.com. I want to start today with this. This whole Matt Nagy, Mitch Trubisky saga is really the ultimate soap opera. Recurring themes, recurring story. Every couple of months we see a new development. And every quote attributed to it is thinly veiled. Not direct, but there are underlying feelings that go along with each quote. See, Mitch Trubisky was recently interviewed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he came out and rebuked Matt Nagy, but not directly. He didn't say Matt Nagy's name, didn't say, oh, he's a horrible coach and bashed him, but he still found a way to get his message across. I'll read you the quote. Nagy said to Albert Breer, quote, I felt like being in Buffalo, the quarterback had a lot more free reign to go where he wanted to with the reads and go where he wanted to with the ball as opposed to Chicago. Even if you got a completion in Chicago, I felt like sometimes it wasn't necessarily what the coach wanted. They put you in a box a little bit more than you wanted to be, and I think that restricts you as a player. It's just different experiences. In the end, we still won games. It's still different team to team, end quote. Mitch, you could say what's on your mind. Matt Nagy is officially out of your life. What he did to you is something that I can never forgive. This quote might have been thinly veiled. It didn't fully come out and say, this is horrible what Matt Nagy did to me, but it was pretty apparent that Matt Nagy's coaching style is a sham. And Mitch, rightfully so, made sure he conveyed the message. See, Matt Nagy's a fraud. For those of you who are new to this channel, I've done many videos on Matt Nagy, calling for his firing and calling for this whole situation between him and Mitch to get better. Matt Nagy officially screwed Mitch Trubisky. There have been reports from The Athletic and other news sources that said that Matt Nagy blew off Trubisky after the 2020 season. Matt Nagy was the sole reason, or one of the leading reasons, why Mitch Trubisky did not last here in Chicago, and he's one of the big reasons why Mitch regressed, not progressed. Everybody wants to blame Mitch, and I understand it. Who wouldn't? The quarterback gets the majority of the blame in the NFL, even if it's not his fault. But at the end of the day, it was Matt Nagy who led to Mitch regressing. And let's say this too. Mitch still went 29-21 as the Bears quarterback. You can argue whatever you'd like about the fact that, oh, it's just the record, they had good players. The fact is, 29-21, winning record. The fact is, best passer rating in Bears history, believe it or not. Understandably, less attempts than Jay Cutler or Sid Luckman, but still. So the Bears got rid of their best quarterback in franchise history because Matt Nagy said so, because Matt Nagy officially sabotaged him. Yeah, if that were me, if I were Mitch Trubisky, I'd be carrying some sour grapes. Plain and simple. Mitch last year went to Buffalo, sat on the bench, learned, and really reinvented himself. Talk about a humbling experience. You're a second overall pick. You're supposed to be the savior of this new franchise. You do well, you're kicked out, and you become a backup. Not easy. Now he's going to be starting again, hopefully, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Curious to see how it goes. But that has to be a seismic shift in someone's life, in Mitch Trubisky's life. And it all came at the hands of Matt Nagy. Here's what I find funny. Who's better off today? Not Nagy. Nagy's going to be the heir apparent to Andy Reid. He's back in KC. He is working with a great quarterback. Everybody has seemed to have forgotten what he's done to the Bears. Meanwhile, Mitch Trubisky is still the subject of memes and hurled insults from the entire NFL community. Oh, he's the MVP. He sucked with the Bears. Really? You may not be happy with his performance or the way things went in Chicago, but at this point, are you really still going to blame him? Can you sit down and look at yourself and say, you know what, that was entirely Mitch Trubisky's fault. Matt Nagy did nothing, had nothing to do with it. Keep in mind, Matt Nagy also killed Justin Fields last year. When I say killed, I mean killed. Browns game, 9 sacks, killed. And this guy's supposed to be some quarterback guru, my behind. Wrong. He's not. Even if you got a completion in Chicago, I felt like sometimes it wasn't necessarily what the coach wanted. Listen to that quote from Mitch Trubisky. So think about this. You're an NFL quarterback, you get a first down. Move the chains. You drive all the way downfield, score a touchdown, win the game, and yet it may not be enough for your head coach. It may not be right. It may not have been the right completion to the right guy. The play may not have been executed correctly. What the hell's wrong with you? It's an executed play if you win football games. The Bears went 29-21 under Mitch Trubisky. And the fact that we sit here today, we're talking about things not being done right, the coach not being happy, that's a freaking joke. Just think about how mentally tough that would be for a quarterback. You're a young guy, you just break in, you're just trying to win football games, you do win, and it's still not enough. Still. After leading your team to 2 playoff appearances, after winning 29 games, after being the best-rated passer in Bears history, it's still not enough. And then here's the best part. The coach actually does a good job at making fans hate you more. So you're hated by everybody, hated by your coach, hated by the fan base, and you're run out of town. Is that right? Does that sound okay? No. It's just frustrating. And now we see more people, to their credit, forgive Mitch Trubisky. A lot of people I know on YouTube, on my radio program, have called in, have told me, hey, I was wrong about the kid, and that's fine, that's great. But some today still love to trash Trubisky, and it makes no sense to me. I got a direct message from one of Trubisky's childhood friends a couple of months back. A long message. And it said, essentially, some of the things that happened to Mitch have not been reported, and he could not speak about them to me. I wanted to report them, and I couldn't. I don't know what that means. I don't know what could have happened, what worse things could have happened, but the fact is, Mitch Trubisky was not liked, nor supported, nor appreciated by Matt Nagy. That still ticks me off a bit. And believe me, I understand the whole move on crowd. Move on from this, John. Worry about Justin Fields. Worry about this new team, new coach. And I still will make videos about Tevin Jenkins, about the Bears wide receiving room, about Justin Fields and his progress. But at the same time, I feel like it's my duty to execute some sort of justice media-wise. Nobody's picking up on this story. Nobody cares. Nobody liked Mitch Trubisky, media included. Nobody wanted to talk about this. I've been on this story for 3 years. Even before I started my YouTube channel, I have been all over this. Mitch Trubisky got a raw deal in Chicago. And I'm not going to be silent, even though the story's old, or no one wants to talk about it anymore, or it's old content, or it pisses you off. I don't care. This needs to be told. If no one else is going to tell the story, then I will. And I'll tell it the way I want to tell it, based on the facts that I have in front of me. The fact is, Matt Nagy screwed Mitch Trubisky. And Mitch Trubisky's every right to communicate that to people as best as he could. Obviously, for his career's sake, he probably can't come out and say, I hate Matt Nagy. But I'll tell you this much, this quote right here comes very close to it. Even if you got a completion in Chicago, I felt like sometimes it wasn't necessarily what the coach wanted. Explain to me how that makes sense. what do you want then if you're the coach, if you're Matt Nagy? What if you get a 3rd and 4 completion, you check it down, and you move the chains? What are you going to say? You're going to yell at Mitch Trubisky and tell him that wasn't the right pass? Because that's kind of what it sounds like here. At the end of the day, the goal in the NFL is to win. Just win on Sunday. That's a motto within the NFL. You're just supposed to win. You're just supposed to keep moving forward, trudging forward. It's a grind at 17 games. Just win a football game. It's not easy. The fact that we're sitting here and Mitch Trubisky's admitting that he completed a pass and it wasn't what the coach wanted is ludicrous to me, and it should revoke Matt Nagy's coaching credentials for the rest of his career. The fact that he still is a coach somewhere is still mind-boggling to me. The fact that he might be the heir apparent to Andy Reid bothers me, and it should bother you too. He may not be the Bears' problem anymore, but I care about people. And him being a coach anywhere again means watch out if you're the quarterback. And it means watch out if you're the team. Because it means a toxic culture. It means unrealistic expectations. It means blackmail from your coach. And it means throwing your players under the bus and other coaches under the bus for your name's sake. How many people were fired under Matt Nagy before he was fired? Harry Hiestand, Chuck Pagano. How many people were with Matt Nagy that took the fall for him before he eventually took the fall himself? Mitch Trubisky. There are so many people we could point to. It's wrong. It's a problem. I just don't appreciate it. It's not right. It's not right to treat people that way. And Matt Nagy treated everybody that way. Here's more evidence, by the way, to support Mitch Trubisky. Matt Nagy gave up play calling, quote-unquote, twice. Due to pressure from media, from fans, and from players. He gave up play calling twice. That's how bad he was. If he's supposedly an offensive guru, why would he give up play calling twice? Because he couldn't execute. See, Matt Nagy is all about, if you're the quarterback, you conform to me. That mindset of coaching is so outdated, and even if it was dated, and even if it was current, it's a stupid philosophy. Play to your quarterback's strengths. Do you want to win? Because if so, how about your quarterback? Everybody wins if your quarterback can execute. And in the Bears' case, no one was willing to do that. Matt Nagy was not willing to play to Mitch Trubisky's strengths. Say what you want, Mitch Trubisky had a good year in 2018. Then it all tailed off. Why? It's not just Mitch Trubisky didn't put in the work or didn't care. Mitch Trubisky is not a lazy quarterback or a lazy player. And by Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy made sure it became that way. Then Mitch had no offensive line help. Then it became horrible. And then that same offensive line protected Justin Fields last year. Look what happened to him. This guy's just a menace. He doesn't help anybody. He only breaks quarterbacks, not helps them and improves them, helps them progress. It's just aggravating. But I give Mitch Trubisky a lot of credit. He has spoken out as best as he could, knowing the situation, and he's been very humble. Very humble. Must not have been easy for him to be rejected by his fans, rejected by his coach, rejected by the team that drafted him, then went to go sit for a whole year backing up Josh Allen. Now he's starting again. Potentially. That's not easy. At all. That's like getting fired from your executive job, going to work at McDonald's for a year, then trying to get back into it. It's like what Kurt Warner did, right? Bagging groceries before he got the call again and wins a Super Bowl with the Cardinals. Similar idea. Mitch Trubisky was a top pick, and his first year with Matt Nagy in 2018 was a success. Look what happened afterwards. Look how much he was screwed. And he had to sit for a whole year and do nothing. And to this day, he's still insulted. He's still a meme amongst the NFL community. It's wrong. You know who's a meme? You know who's a bust? Jamarcus Russell. That's a bust. That's a meme. You can make fun of Jamarcus Russell. He didn't work hard. There are stories out there about Jamarcus Russell claiming he's watched tape and then didn't. Those are funny stories you laugh at. Mitch Trubisky's not somebody you laugh at. Mitch Trubisky, technically, yes, is a winner. He's a winner. He's the best rated quarterback in Bears history. That to me is not something to laugh at. We have to evaluate talent better, all of us. I get that maybe Trubisky wasn't the guy, and if the Bears had a do-over, they'd probably pick Deshaun Watson, based on the field play, not his off-the-field stuff. Deshaun Watson on the field is a 10 times better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky, and that's the pick they should have made, and that's fine. But we can't hold that mistake on Trubisky's head. We can't be trashing Trubisky because, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes are better. No. What did he do? Mitch Trubisky did the best he could in the situation that he had. The people to blame are Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. Matt Nagy could say, I wanted Deshaun Watson. Who knows what the truth was in that regard. But I do know this. Matt Nagy campaigned throughout his coaching tenure in Chicago to make sure that Mitch Trubisky did not do well. Matt Nagy was mostly responsible for the Bears cutting ties with Trubisky after 2020. And to this day, there's been no apology, there's been no justice, there's been no media coverage of this situation. When you come out and say that it's not enough to complete a pass or it wasn't what the coach wanted, that's a huge problem. And you have to wonder, too, did this happen to Justin Fields last year? My guess is yes. It had to have. Not only did Matt Nagy kill Justin Fields in his first week on the job, but then you have a situation like this where Mitch Trubisky says, it wasn't enough to complete a pass. Imagine how that was last year with Justin Fields. That gives you more insight into why his stat line was so bad. Obviously, many other factors, bad wide receivers, bad O-line, not enough time to throw the football, but also a bad game plan. And I would think if Fields wanted to improvise or do something on his own, he'd be told not to do it. He'd be discouraged from doing it. He might even be punished for doing it, like Trubisky was. That should be the real part of this story. Mitch Trubisky coming out and saying something just adds to the drama, but what about how did this affect Justin Fields? Think about that. Not willing to judge Justin Fields based on last year. Last year was horrible for Fields, but you know what? Look at his coach, and now look at the former quarterback who played under his former coach. If Mitch Trubisky's saying it wasn't enough to complete a pass, how do you think that felt for Justin Fields? How do you think that affected Fields and his development? This story just gets uglier and uglier. For your reference, I'll continue to cover it. I do expect to track Mitch Trubisky's progress and cover it on this channel and on my program on the radio and television. Because this story needs to be told. Chicago media wants to move on because a lot of them were in the wrong too. I'm not willing to move on yet. And if Mitch Trubisky stinks it up in Pittsburgh, so be it. Obviously, I was wrong, but also he's probably been scarred from Matt Nagy. But the story deserves to be told and followed. I encourage all of you to follow it as well and get your news about the Bears from a reliable outlet that wishes to tell the truth. You got some people out there who are too scared to say what's on their mind. Who are too scared to come out and say the Bears suck because they're worried the Bears are going to revoke their press credentials or who knows what's going to happen. I'm always here to tell the truth. That's the point of this program. That's why all of you come to watch me. So I'm going to track this story. What Matt Nagy did to Mitch Trubisky was criminal. It was essentially career-ending. It was reputation-ending. It hurt the Bears. It hurt Mitch Trubisky. It hurt Matt Nagy minimally, which goes to tell you there's a problem. But even more than that, it just exposed Matt Nagy's incompetence as a football coach. Keyword, I said football. Not National Football League coach, football coach. Matt Nagy should not even be coaching high schoolers or pee-wee football players. He shouldn't be. What does he know? What's he going to do? How's he going to help them develop? If he can't help his second-year quarterback develop, then a new rookie quarterback from Ohio State develop, how's he expected to develop a high school quarterback, high school player, pee-wee player? This, to me, is one of the darker eras, one of the darker spots in Bears history. I mean that. This is not recency bias at all. This is one of the darker spots in Bears history. And instead of trying to sweep it under the rug and put it away, I'm going to continue to expose it. It was wrong. What happened was wrong for everybody involved. For you, for me, the fan experience, but also for coaches, players, personnel. The franchise took a hit. You can't just forget about this and move on. And I wish nothing but the best for Mitch Trubisky this year, but my goodness, what he went through here in Chicago, it's unfortunate that all this came out until after Matt Nagy's tenure. It was wrong. It was unjust. It was cruel to an extent as well. We need to keep this in mind when Matt Nagy gets another job, because when he does, I'll be right here making a video about it. Matt Nagy does not know football, and he set the Bears back a long time. But the worst part is, he hurt an innocent player's career, and he smeared his name, even though he's a winner and a decent player, considering what ended up happening. Thanks for watching today's show. Really appreciate you tuning in. Remember, if you want to find my social links, podcasts, articles, and videos, head over to sportstalkchicago.com. Again, that's sportstalkchicago.com. So long, everyone.